Well, right now, a massive caravan of more than 8,000 migrants is on its way to our southern border, the largest caravan we've seen in over a year. And that could grow to up to 15,000 people. The group is hoping to arrive in Texas before a new state law goes into effect that would allow state and local police to arrest, jail, prosecute, and also judges to possibly even deport back to Mexico anyone who crosses the border illegally. God bless Texas. A law that the Biden administration is threatening to sue Texas over. You got that? Now, while they send Antony Blinken and Alejandro Mayorkas to Mexico to beg for help. Meanwhile, new numbers show we're on pace to see nearly 1 million border encounters in just 3 months. For perspective, there were 646,000 encounters for the entire fiscal year of 2020. More than 340,000 encounters in December so far, and the month's not even over yet. More than in any month ever recorded. 309,000 in October, 304,000 in November. That's over 950,000 in 3 months. Approximately 60% of them, by the way, are single adult males of military age, despite what the media shows you, little kids with backpacks. Every day, 6,000 migrants are released directly into local communities with notice to appear. The mayor of Laredo, Texas, the largest port in the U.S., says while he's used to having migrants released into his city, things are only getting worse. Here he was on CNN describing what's happening.
We've been accustomed to seeing migrants being released in our community, but most of them get on a bus and they go to another destination. But now what we're seeing is refugees from all over the world, not precisely from Mexico. They come from South America and all over the world, stranded in our community with no money and no idea where they're going.
They're just being stranded in the community. Ayúdame. Hola. This is what the Biden administration calls a more humane, fair, and orderly immigration system? For more on this, let's bring in independent journalist Auden Cabello, along with global business consultant Hilary Fordwich. So, Auden, while the Biden administration is trying to convince President Obrador to secure the border, believe it or not, it's his job, they're also threatening to sue Texas for securing their own state border. I mean, they're literally going after Texas for prosecuting illegal immigrants that break the law. How absurd is this?
Yeah, well, that's what I've been saying, that it's a sign of weakness for the United States for them to come to Mexico and beg López Obrador to help and stem the tidal wave of migrants. And just remember that in Tapachula, this is where the bottlenecks form. And these caravans that form are the poorest of the poor, and that's why they're walking to central Mexico, and that's where they catch the trains that lead directly to Juarez and into El Paso and also Piedras Negras and Eagle Pass. That's where I do most of my coverage. But let's not forget those that can afford to pay the cartels, the smugglers who are paying upwards of $10,000 per person that end up in Lukeville, Arizona and California. And right now, López Obrador has the upper hand and he's been able to negotiate. One of the things that hits Mexico the strongest is their economy. And ports of entry were closed as long as 2 major railways. And after this negotiation, those ports of entry were opened and Mexico's back in business. And he was able to leverage with the United States that as long as Mexico's economy is fine, these migrants are going to continue from southern Mexico into the U.S. border.
Yeah, when Trump was president, they snapped to attention. They realized how severe it was and no screwing around. Hilary, the Democratic mayors of New York and Chicago, both, shall we remind you, sanctuary cities, they're completely fed up with Biden refusing to help them or do anything to solve his self-inflicted crisis. Denver's mayor says if the federal government doesn't help, his sanctuary city, I love this, will make bigger cuts than they did during the recession.
We want the federal government to take action. If they don't, we'll be looking at a $160 million impact. That's 10% of our entire budget. So if you imagine cutting all of your city agencies by 10%, that would be historic cuts larger than we've seen even in the recession times of the 2009 and 2010 cycle.
Why won't these mayors admit Republicans were right and just drop their sanctuary city status, Hilary?
Well, that's a very good question. And actually, going back to your numbers, also, let's face this. When you mention this is the highest number, the highest December ever that we've ever had, the highest month in American history. And by the way, people keep calling them migrants, but migrants go back to their own country after they're actually illegal aliens. And I can say this as an immigrant coming from another country, going through the legal process for 6 months. They are illegal aliens. But what's important is that December always used to be the lowest month. It was the lowest month of anybody crossing our border. If this is historically the lowest month and it's now the highest, we are heading towards, if this actual trend continues, exactly the numbers you have on the screen right now, Ron, with this continuing trend, we will head to over 10 million illegal aliens in America. That is more than the state of New Jersey. Now, back to your question. Why won't these mayors get it? Well, it was fine for these mayors because don't forget, of course, this wasn't their cities. As Margaret Thatcher used to say, there is no free lunch. I don't know where they think the money is coming from. It will come from their individual taxpayers, from the American taxpayers, from hardworking Americans. And that is why you're seeing across the aisle, not just Republicans, you're seeing Democrats actually disgusted with what we can term as the hurricane of humanity coming across our border.
You're right. It's illegal aliens. That's what's in the federal code. It's not asylum seeker. It's not undocumented. It's illegal alien.
Correct.
Auden Cabello and Hilary Fordwich, thank you both very much. Have a happy New Year.
Happy
You
New
too,
Year.
Ron.